happened. Not a good day for technology. Okay, let's see here. New. Oh, it's going there, Donnie. Link 2. Yeah, so we had some kind of crash. Everything went down. So I'm just starting it up again. It should be going. Okay. Looks like we're live on TikTok once again. Hello, TikTok. All right. Hey, hello, Lawrence. Just dealing with a technology issue. Hello. No idea why that happened. I don't know if I accidentally clicked when I shouldn't have clicked. Whatever the case is, it didn't go very well. So welcome back. Thanks for popping back in. And thank you for Instagram, who didn't care, didn't notice at all what was happening, but it's all working now. I'm surprised I didn't have an alarm that went off to say the stream has failed. Here's News Talk. And we're back, and apparently now we're actually broadcasting properly.
Can you hear me?
I hear you A-OK.
Yep, okay. Still in break.
Fantastic. Is it 5x5 A-OK? Yeah, not sure. I got to go back and look at it, but it looks like we had like the first 10 seconds of the live stream, and then everything went down. So, cool. We're back in business. Maybe it was a network problem. We'll blame the network. But for anyone who's just jumping into this live, because this is sort of live part 2, my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police officer with the Toronto Police Service, and this is Ask a Traffic Cop. We're starting our day a little early. We actually started at 9:30. We were on the air with News Talk 1010 and Mark Toohey, who is standing in for Jerry Agar. And then something happened. We lost the feed everywhere. I don't know if it's because I was experimenting with a new channel called we're on Telegram. You know, maybe I shouldn't experiment when we're live on the radio. Just maybe food for thought for next time. I'll go with that. But we are going to be joined in just a moment. They're on a commercial break, and then we are going to continue. Let's see. Can JD get in? We'll see. I'm not sure. But if you can see me, JD, all you need to do is go into the main menu and jump back in. There he is. Okay, we're in business, folks. We're in business. Unless it crashes again. It's very rare when we have problems. So we're taking your traffic and police questions. We had questions that were text and call in from the radio audience in Toronto. We'll have more of those. If you have questions, jump in.
Listen anytime, anywhere to News Talk 1010 Toronto through your Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Jerry Agar continues on the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
Hey, it's Mark Toohey in for Agar. Do you have a running disagreement with your spouse, an argument with your kids over who's right about a particular traffic law? Well, my guest is here to clear those up. You can give us a call at 416-872-1010 or toll free at 1-877-518-5151. Sean Shapiro is a constable with the Toronto Police Service. He's in the traffic safety program of traffic operations and known affectionately by all of us here at News Talk 1010 as the TikTok traffic cop. Sean, we have we've got a full board of questions here, nice. So I'm excited. Let us go to Bill in St. Catharines. I think I know the answer to this one. We'll find out if I'm right. Go ahead, Bill in St. Catharines.
Hi. Okay, I have a question about crosswalks. Just to clarify, I think it's a relatively new change in the laws. If you're trying to turn right at a red light or a stop sign, and there's people in the crosswalk. My understanding is if it's a normal crosswalk, there's no guard with a sign with school kids, and there's no overhead flashing lights, that once that person's clear and, let's say, a little beyond halfway across the road, that you can safely turn right, as opposed to if there's a crossing guard or if there's those flashing crosswalk light signs, that you actually have to wait for the person to reach the other curb, get off the road completely. Now, is that correct or am I wrong?
You're actually bang on. So here's the deal. There's two different things. There's something called a pedestrian crossover, and there's something else that is called a crosswalk, which we all grew up with. It's the normal crosswalk. If a crosswalk at an intersection is there, you have to yield to the pedestrian. You have to wait till they pass you, essentially. And a rule of thumb, wait till they're halfway through till they're on the other side of the road other side of the road being halfway point to the other direction of traffic, and then go as long as it's safe. If there's a crossing guard in the intersection, you must wait until they're entirely off the road. Now, that's different than a pedestrian crossover, which is not in relation to a crosswalk at an intersection. It's usually on its own and it has the overhead lights and so on. That is where, regardless of the presence of a crossing guard, you must wait until the pedestrian is entirely off the roadway before you can proceed. And there's a wonderful ticket that I like laying to people who don't like to wait for pedestrians.
And like those crossovers, are they often in the middle of the block, sometimes near a park or a school, and they've got the yellow X sign overhead and the light that comes down on the crosswalk and flashing lights. That's the one where we have to wait till they fully clear the roadway completely, right?
Absolutely. Unless it's a crosswalk with a crossing guard in it, then it's sort of treated the same way. You have to wait until everybody's off the road.
Perfect. Let's go to Paul on Highway 403. Go ahead, Paul.
Hey guys, I drove tractor trailer for about 8 years, and I taught for 4. And when I see something dangerous, whether it's an object on the road or a driver driving a little crazy, I typically will call it in. But you never hear back. What's the result? Did they catch someone, or are they able to interact? And I'm just curious, is it valuable to be doing that? I always kind of feel like, geez, maybe I'm just wasting someone's time.
I know the guilt because I'm, as an off-duty cop, I'm the on-duty cop's worst nightmare because I call these things in. But I'm constantly reporting those things as well. If there's load on the road, you need someone. Whether they notify the city or if it's a police officer responding, you need to let people know because it's going to turn into a collision or at very least damage to a vehicle. So I think you're doing absolutely the right thing. You can also call the non-emergency line. I don't necessarily think it's a 911 call, but star OPP on the 401, that gets you to a communications operator. It's the right thing to do.
Let's go to John, downtown. Oh, sorry. I went to John in North York. There's 2 Johns. Go ahead, John in North York. Nope.
Yes. Like I noticed that a lot of tractor trailers are driving on the left lane. And for those vehicles to travel at a higher speed on left lanes is pretty dangerous.
Thanks very much. I think the question there is and somebody texted this as well, Sean. On the highways, we often see signs that say slower traffic, keep right, but that seems to be inconsistent. What is the actual law, and why isn't the actual law you must stay right unless you're passing?
Well, oddly enough, it isn't the law that says you have to stay stay right unless passing, but the slower moving vehicle should stay to the right. The OPP brings up on a regular basis the fact that there is a law that says slower traffic move right. I've never laid a charge in relation to that. Technically speaking, the speed limit's the speed limit in every lane, and no one should be going above it. So if a tractor trailer is doing 100 in the left lane, and that's the speed limit, then there's no reason to pass them because you're not allowed to exceed the speed limit. But I won't get too deep in the weeds on that. Here's the deal. Unless there is a sign preventing the use in that lane, they may need to be there because of bridge heights. It really depends on where they are. Generally speaking, they are good to stay out of the left lane and usually do. So if it's happening a lot, there may be a reason. There may not be. At the end of the day, police officers, if there is a problem with it, will likely stop and charge them. But really the question is, why are people trying to go faster?
And John's got a question. This is the other John I had intended about the speed limit on highways. Hey, John.
Yes. Hi. I'm on the 404, and it says 100, and my understanding is that the speed is being increased to 110. So which is correct?
There are certain stretches of highway where the speed limit is being raised to 110, but not all highways, and not all of the 400 series highways have been changed. So the vast majority are still 100 kilometers an hour. Certain areas on the 404 North, about 16 kilometers worth, are 10 kilometers faster. So you should still be governed by the signs you see. And if you don't see it say 110, don't go faster.
And let's run the board on John's and go to Oakville.
Hi, I guess I'm John number 3. I'm just calling. I bought a used vehicle a year ago, and the salesperson told me don't put the ownership in the glove box, keep it in a file at home, but make a photocopy of it and carry the photocopy in the glove box. And I'm just wondering, is that correct?
That is absolutely legal and something that I totally suggest. You shouldn't keep, the reason you shouldn't keep an original in your glove box is because if someone breaks into your vehicle and has a wonderful, bright, shiny green piece of paper, they can sign it and potentially make a forgery to sell themselves your car when they steal it. So they also get your personal information and where you live. So I don't leave any ownership documents or insurance documents in my vehicle. They're always in my wallet. If you are going to keep a copy is what you want, not an original.
I'm just going to read this question to you, Sean. Mandy in Scarborough wants to know, who do you call if you see a dog locked in a hot car?
That's an emergency, and that's very topical for the temperatures we're seeing these couple of days. Whether it be a person or a animal, that could be an emergency. So you want to look and provide information in relation to what you're seeing. Are they non-responsive? If you bang on the window and they don't respond, that's absolutely an emergency, because they're basically boiling in there. They're literally going to be getting brain damage as a result of that temperature. The doesn't take a lot of time for the interior temperature of a vehicle to go up to just ridiculous numbers, and it's dangerous. Now, you can try to open the door. Problem with animals, they could be they could react unpredictably. So opening the door a little bit to try and vent is a great idea. Use caution, but the first thing to do is call police.
I'm hoping, is a yes or no question. We've only got about 30 seconds, Sean Shapiro. Are there any circumstances under which a gasoline-burning non-hybrid car, just a straight-out gas-burning car, can have a GV, green vehicle license plate on it?
The only ones that it has to be a hybrid, or it has to be like a plug-in electric hybrid, or there's another fuel source that's available. But no, a gasoline engine vehicle cannot have one of those.
Excellent. Sean Shapiro is a constable with the Toronto Police Service in the Traffic Safety Program, Traffic Operations, runs a show. When do you run? When are you on TikTok?
Generally, it's Monday to Friday from 10 to 11. If you go to trafficcop.ca, you can see us on all the platforms, because it's not just TikTok. We're on all of them.
There you go. But I'm just going to keep calling you the TikTok traffic.
I like it.
There you go. Have a great day.
You too. Okay, there we go. That was fun. Nothing like a little curveball to deal with things while we're trying to bring you the best content possible on this internet. That everything went down. We went live and it broke, and we couldn't fix it. Hopefully, the News Talk just saying thank you before they took off. Thank you to them. They're awesome. We've been doing this for a long time with them. This has been a regular gig for a long time, and I'm always happy to jump on with them, because we get to talk to so many people that we don't normally speak to. It is awesome. I love it. I love it a lot. Lots of folks that have jumped on to the next live here. Tracy, thank you for being here. Emma, if you're here, thank you as well. There you are, Emma. I see you. We have a lot of regulars, and then they're awesome people. So thank you to all of you who are watching, who come here all the time and keep the show going, because this is a show for you. It's all about you. How many people can say they have a show all about them? Before we get into things, I have some business to attend to, and that is specifically dealing with Vision Zero Enforcement Team. I spoke about them briefly on the radio. That may have been during the time that the live feed died, but in any case, they are a dedicated group of officers who go out every single day to drive around the city looking for those who choose to break the law. And specifically, they focus on the big four, those who drive above the speed limit, those who drive aggressively, drive while distracted, or drive while impaired. And there's a lot of charges that qualify under that umbrella. But at the end of the day, if you're breaking the law, you're probably going to meet them, because they aren't going to be distracted by 911 calls for anything else. They're not investigating collisions or looking for lost dogs. They're looking to change driver behavior one ticket at a time. And where will they be today? You can find them in 22 Division and 33 Division. Those are areas and neighborhoods like Etobicoke West Mall, Queensway, Parkwoods, Donalda, Bayview Village, York Mills. And those are just a couple of them that don't necessarily have to stay in those neighborhoods. Anywhere in those divisional boundaries. Why do we tell you where they are? Isn't that counterintuitive? We're going to tell people where we are, and then they just won't go there. Well, the truth is, the people who are breaking the law probably don't watch our channel. Otherwise, they'd know better, because we have the best viewers in the world. But for the people who don't follow us, they're the people who live there, who want to work, play, and live in safety. And they like knowing that we're there to help. So that's why we tell you. We're going to talk about stuff and things today. We do it every day. What are the topics here that we've been getting? First off, Big Jeff Fresh and Ryan Pinn and Stephen Bell. Hello for your hellos. And Endless Chores coming in from TikTok wants to know, what happens when you get stopped but forgot your wallet? Well, here's an interesting conversation. We get to talk about discretion, but ultimately you are eligible for an offense of fail to surrender your driver's license upon demand, because you are required by law to carry your license, and you are required by law to surrender it to a police officer for reasonable inspection. And if you don't, $110 ticket could be coming your way. But that's why I want to talk about discretion, because I don't have to give you a ticket. I may choose to, but I don't have to. Why would I give you a ticket? Well, ultimately, I give tickets to people to change their behavior. But there is something to be said for someone who says, I messed up. If you told me, hey, you're a cop, go look it up, you can find it in the system, probably not someone I'm going to exercise discretion with. That's someone who's not taking responsibility. However, I have that option. So people are always asking, you know, what speed do you get pulled over at? When are you going to get that ticket? Well, the truth is, any speed over the speed limit is an offense. Discretion comes into play, and that's always in play. But I do like talking about that, because very often people say that we never give breaks, or we always give tickets, or we're tax collectors. Well, I can tell you that I used to give as many warnings as I did tickets, and not necessarily to the same person. Okay, someone who does 10 over, I'm probably going to have a conversation with that person as opposed to writing a ticket, but I will stop them. I'll disrupt their day a little bit. They're doing something wrong. Granted, if they're doing 10 over and a 30, they are probably getting a ticket, not a warning. Depends. We're there to encourage and be the consequence when people choose not to follow the rules. Okay. So what else would be one of those warning situations? Let's say they had like 5 things wrong with their vehicle. They were speeding. They didn't have their license. They didn't, like, there's so many different things. It depends. Maybe I'll give some tickets and not all. But the person who is driving has a large part to play in determining which way that's going to go. Attitude is everything. Okay, Michael says, saltings and greetalations. Greetatations? Oh my goodness. We got lots of questions coming in, which means they're rolling off screen before I can read them. Thank you to everybody who's asking questions. By the way, in case you didn't know, we're streaming on a number of channels. We are currently on TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Kick, and Twitter. Twitter, we can't actually hear you. You'll need to jump over. You're going to trafficcop.ca to one of our other channels, platforms, and then you can ask questions all day long, or at least until 11 o'clock. Okay, back to business. What is the charge for being caught driving with a G1? And I assume you mean driving alone, unaccompanied by a qualified G-class driver, because that would be wrong and illegal. And there's a charge called drive unaccompanied, G1 drive unaccompanied. That's the charge. It's $110. And the bonus is that when you're convicted, you get a 30-day suspension on your first conviction. If you do it again because you didn't learn your lesson, because just things aren't being computed properly, you get a 90-day suspension if you're caught again, on top of the $110 fine. And then, if it really didn't sink in, you get kicked out of the graduated licensing program, which is where you should be, because that's the simplest of direction. And if you can't follow that, you don't deserve to drive. Simple as that. Good luck also getting insurance when you have a multitude of charges related to your inability to follow simple directions. Okay. I am glad to hear that TikTok is technology-wise seems to be working now. Nice. Because Michael said there were some issues with TikTok audio. We had a whole bunch of issues at the beginning of the show, but it appears that they are now working properly. Thank you. Nessa Bella has a question. Good morning. I have a question. What happens when you don't pay your parking penalty ticket? Okay, fantastic question. And it's different than if you don't pay your tickets issued by police officers. So if you don't pay a ticket against your driver's license, your license will be suspended for non-payment. You get a suspension due to non-payment of fines. If you don't pay your parking tickets, you won't be able to renew your license plate, but it shouldn't affect your driver's license because we don't know who's driving. You know what I do know is that I have footsteps approaching. Good morning.
Good morning.
Are you ready to reveal your face?
Yes.
Okay, let me slide over here. We have Sergeant Murray Campbell joining. I need to update this to say with PC Sean Shapiro and Sergeant Murray Campbell.
Yes.
I'll do that. Matthew Amos says, "Hey, Sean." He asked that before you sat down. He wouldn't exclude you, I know.
Good morning.
Good morning. We had some technical difficulties. We started the show. The live went for like a minute and then died. We had to reboot it. That was interesting. We did that while we were live on the air. Well, actually, we did that while we were on commercial break fixing it, but we survived.
And all is good?
All is good.
Excellent.
As far as we know. And since we don't know what we don't know, we won't worry.
Until somebody texts us and
Yes.
sends us a message and say, hey, this isn't working.
And that's pretty much how it happened. Okay. Oh. In G1 charges of driving alone, what if you have a driving test within the days you're suspended? So you were caught driving with a G1 alone, and then you were suspended as a result of it. I guess you can't do your driving test. You're suspended, and they'll know that you are suspended. They're going to verify that your license is valid. If you're suspended, you're not getting your test. You'll probably have to rebook it.
Yeah, rebook it now because of the delays. But don't try and go and drive, especially with an MTO and examiner, if you're under suspension.
Just bad.
That's kind of a clue that maybe you're not such a good driver.
Well, we were discussing about this. I mean, if you are caught driving alone, and then you're caught driving alone again, and you just don't deserve to drive. It's such simple rules.
Yeah.
You got to have patience. There is absolutely no excuse for it. All right, we have a question from Aaron Tate. This is an interesting one. I'm not sure about this. Are you allowed to live in your vehicle that is being modified, that has a modified exhaust in Toronto and sitting idling? Well, there's a no idle law in Toronto.
3 minutes, I think it is.
Something along those lines.
Yeah.
So you can't sit in your vehicle and idle regardless of, I don't know what the modified exhaust part is. I'm not sure if this is a real question. Can you live in your vehicle? Regardless of the modified, I don't think you can take up residence, because where are you parking your vehicle? And most places don't allow overnight parking and things of those nature. So it's a complicated question in that I don't think you can, but I don't know where the justification for that answer comes from.
So it's unfortunate that if some people find themselves in a situation where that is the only place that they can stay. Obviously not a good thing. There are other avenues you can take. I would not suggest, even if you are living in your vehicle, to have it idling, even with a modified exhaust. I would imagine the modified exhaust is so that carbon monoxide is not being brought into the vehicle, or it's being exhausted far enough away. Mm-hmm. I still would not recommend it.
There's definitely safety concerns. There's also safety concerns in terms of if you were approached. I've seen a lot of TikToks and videos about people who have converted their camper vans or their vans into campers, and they regularly discuss the concept of people trying to break in while they're sleeping inside, and they have tips and tricks about how to do things with seatbelts. It's interesting, but that identifies a real concern for safety aside from the health concerns. But I wish I had a better answer. I think we've covered it, but I can't tell you the line of law that says you can't do it. I don't think you should be doing it, or that it's a good idea. And it's probably illegal, but maybe it's a bylaw.
You know what? It's an unfortunate situation that people have to sometimes find themselves in the situation where they have no other choice.
Here's an interesting question: Can bodyguard escorts tail each other or tailgate each other? We see this in videos where people say, that's Drake, and there's a bunch of SUVs riding inches away from one another. It's dangerous. They may not be trained to do that. Vehicles used by police agencies to do that are A, they're trained officers, B, they have systems in place so they know when brakes are being applied. That's a recipe for a disaster, because someone's going to hit the brakes and collision.
Is it lawful?
It's not lawful.
Absolutely not.
It's not.
So it doesn't matter what your job is, you still have to follow the Highway Traffic Act and the Criminal Code in your driving. And just because somebody's paying you to drive the way they want you to, it's not lawful. And I would be the first person to pull you over and give you a ticket.
Well, you'd give them all a ticket.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, without hesitation.
Can I drink water while driving? And this is, oddly enough, an answer specific to Ontario, because here you can, but I understand in BC you can't.
Oh.
That their distracted driving laws encompass drinking things other than alcohol or eating. Now, I've not confirmed that, but that's what I've been told by others.
No, it's all within reason. If you have a great big jug of water that you're putting up in front of your face and drinking at it, and you can't see through it, and it's distracting you, absolutely not. If you're eating a bowl of oatmeal, no.
That would be careless driving.
Yeah.
And I've seen it all. I've seen everything from full-on knife and fork, balancing knees and bowls. I've seen it all. and it's not lawful. It is dangerous, and it's dangerous to the average person looking at it. It's dangerous. Not just it doesn't take
that's
super
common
keen-
sense.
Yeah, no, there's nothing common about common sense.
I know.
Is there a ticket for playing loud music in a car? Oddly enough, I put a TikTok about this today, and the answer is unnecessary noise. Is even though you may love your loud music, it may be noise to others, and it could qualify for a charge of unnecessary noise. Yeah, loud exhaust, same thing, all under the same umbrella charge.
Now, loud exhaust could definitely be anywhere. If you're playing loud music in the car and you're on the highway, not bothering anybody, nobody else can hear it, well, you wouldn't get stopped for it anyways because no one else can hear it. I like music loud, but I also don't want it too loud that it bothers other people or it distracts me or limits me from being able to hear the surrounding around me. Especially on a motorcycle. I have headphones. I don't want to be distracted by noise playing somewhere where I can't hear cars, vehicles, and horns.
There's
things
a
like that.
difference between louder, cranking it to 10 and maxing out your speakers to the point of distortion and rumbling. There are cars that even though you can't hear the music clearly, you can feel the rumble. It sounds like your windows are vibrating. That is an easy to articulate unnecessary noise charge.
Absolutely.
We have a question on Instagram. If I get pulled over on my driving test, who will be responsible for the ticket? Well, got news for you. You're the driver, and you're responsible for what happens with that vehicle while you're operating it. So you're responsible for it. Even if you're being taught by someone else, an instructor, you, the driver, are still responsible.
100%. You're in charge of the vehicle. Yes, you're being instructed, but you should know better than to do stuff that is unlawful. Most driving instructors or testers will not put you in a situation where you have to do something illegal.
If they're giving you direction to do something illegal, that's a different situation. That's a problem. You're still going to get it. You still are going to be responsible for what you chose to do. I'd possibly question why you were told to do it. Okay. We have a question, and the question is, same question, from Ala. I have a G2, and the car is my friend. The car I have insurance. I can't read this. I have G2 and the car is my friend. The car have insurance. I am not in her insurance. Can I drive? So if the vehicle is insured in Ontario and you have a G2 license, you are able to drive that vehicle on a situation where you're lent with permission to drive it. That's lawful. There are certain situations where that may not be permitted from the insurance company's perspective. And that could be if they may have a stipulation that no one under 25 can operate the vehicle, or no one named Allah can drive. I'm kidding, of course, but they may have named some people that can't be operating the vehicle.
Yep. Anybody with a criminal conviction. So I've seen insurance companies. An insurance contract with the vehicle owner and the person who's paying for it is a contract, and they can write up whatever rules they want to put in their contract. So check with the insurance company before you go out there and drive. The car itself will have third-party liability coverage, but you may not have any other coverage, because if you're a restricted person operating the car, they may not cover it.
And that's a big thing. If we pull you over, we're not looking into the contract lines to see if you're excluded in most cases. So we wouldn't give you a ticket for driving that vehicle because you're licensed and the vehicle's insured. We're finished at that point. But if you got into a crash, that would certainly come into question. Question from Lineman 9, can you haul a trailer with a G1?
Technically, you can, as long as it fits the criteria that a G-class license is allowed to haul. But
is it a good idea?
That is not the purpose of what a G1 is. A G1 is a learner's permit. It is there for somebody to instruct you on how to drive. Why don't you figure out how to drive a car first
before you
start towing a trailer around?
And the same thing was asked to me last week about can you drive a commercial truck that requires a G? Yeah, but what a bad idea. What a way to ensure you have a difficult time learning the basics. Folks, I would want to be on the smallest, most easily maneuverable car possible to get the hang of driving. There's no other reason. And also, it's not a justification or a way of getting a designated driver. The supervising licensed G driver must be sober. They have to have less than 0.05 when they're supervising you. 0.05 is the blood alcohol content in their blood. Again, it's not to get somebody else to drive them home. It's to teach them how to drive, give them an opportunity to practice. So if you're stretching and taking on all the responsibilities and complicating things, you're setting yourself up for unfortunate failure, in my opinion. Marco says, a guy got mad at me yesterday. Why'd they get mad at you? Why isn't this updating it? Wait, that's not the one. It's scrolled. I went to press the button and it disappeared.
It's slow.
Oh, it's just that there's so many questions coming in that it updates and then we can't see. Let's deal with this one and we'll come back to it. So exclusive wants to know, can an OPP pull you over on a side road? And while you answer that, I'll go look for the other question.
Any police officer can pull you over on any road. We work in Toronto. We're paid to patrol in Toronto, but I'm a police officer anywhere in Ontario, 365 days a year. I can pull you over wherever, whenever, for whatever reason. So yes, the OPP has the same. All municipal and provincial police officers in Ontario have the same qualifications, same authorities, and can do it at any time.
Yes, and if we don't have the ability to issue a ticket, because there's some rules about that, we'll phone a friend, because we can stop you with that authority. We can be the best. We can provide evidence for the charge, and we may phone a friend to come lay the paper.
Or we may just lay it ourselves. I have done that in the past, and I summoned somebody to court in the jurisdiction that we're in at that time, and I just went to court, gave evidence.
Fantastic. This is the question that kept updating as I was trying to select it. Guy got mad at me yesterday, got out of his vehicle and tried to open my car door. Is that legal? That's a very interesting. I wonder what happened and what the circumstances were. But because that person, that's a road ragey kind of thing. No one.
Well, what's the purpose of it? Why was he trying to open your door? Was it to assault you? Was it to, confine you? Was it to you? This is criminal in nature, but the whole thing would have to be investigated, and if there was evidence to lay the charge, then absolutely it's illegal.
Yeah. I mean, if there was an argument that the person was trying to help you because they thought you were in distress, that would be a situation where trying the door wouldn't be unlawful. But I doubt that was the situation.
Right? What if they thought you were impaired and they're trying to stop you from driving?
That's entirely legitimate then.
So yeah, we need more information, and it would have to be investigated. And
it sounds like depends.
Depends.
It's depends.
We do say that a lot, don't we?
We do,
Well,
because that's the answer a lot, unfortunately. Akela brings up the fact that it is 20 minutes after 10. It's Harley time.
Time?
What does Harley time mean? It means that we got to talk to you about the opportunity you have to support Special Olympics Ontario by buying a ticket, which gives you the opportunity, increases your odds dramatically of winning a brand new 2022 Harley-Davidson Touring Street Glide, which could be yours if you buy a ticket for $20. Could be. It's a chance. $50 gets you 3, $100 gets you 8, and today I find out if I get my early bird prize of $500. Now I don't know if that means that you had to have purchased it before today, or if it will count up until the time that they do the draw.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm going to say though, Sean, I'm planning on winning it. So thank you everybody who wants to continue to buy the tickets, but I'm kind of hoping. So I just came back from a motorcycle vacation, a little trip, 3,200 kilometers.
Wow.
And I come to the realization I had the oldest motorcycle in the group, and I need a new one. So
makes sense. If you're watching and you don't know who we are, this is Ask a Traffic Cop, and we're currently broadcasting on TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Kick, and Twitter. But Twitter, we can't hear you. So if you want to ask us questions, jump over to one of the other platforms by going to trafficcop.ca, where I have links to all the platforms. I am Sean Shapiro, a police constable with the Toronto Police Service at Traffic Services, and joining me on screen,
Sergeant Murray Campbell. I work along with Sean here at Traffic Services.
We do stuff and things.
Stuff and things. There's another one. It depends on stuff and things. That's our 2 lines.
I'm sure we have more of them. In fact, there's a number of people who remind me on a regular basis if I change the way that I describe something, because I used to say it this way and now I say it that way. They are watching, which is awesome. Okay. If I'm charged with an overweight load in my employer's commercial vehicle, will it reflect on my personal driver's insurance? Well, you as the driver would be charged, and the company could also be charged. So yes, in that case, you would be. If you were charged personally, you would be responsible personally for answering to that action, because you as a driver are ultimately going to either take the vehicle under that condition or not. Yes, you're responsible.
Goes on your driver's license, affects your own personal insurance. Absolutely, it does. A conviction is a conviction.
It's a bad
So
day at the office.
if your employer is trying to make you do something that is not lawful, don't do it.
What is this? Here's a question from Dr. Nick. Why is Officer Arsenault making more content about traffic and policing than you are? Also, why have you stopped going out of the office to make content like you used to? I don't remember ever going out of the office really, but I
Done it a couple of times.
Yeah, here and there, but primarily, first of all, I'm on light duties because I have an injury, because I'm as a result of an on-duty collision, so I can't go out on my own and do things. And I need a bodyguard when I go. So very often I'm inside. But I have noticed that Officer Arsenault has been making a lot of content with PC Pappy, and it's great because any content that is education is good content. Now, Officer Arsenault is retired from the Toronto Police and no longer a police officer, but he still has great knowledge and information that he likes to share. So power to him. That's great. And I like those videos when I see them. Let's see here. Okay, we got that. We got this. Oh, it's Akela Draconis' 15th anniversary, and congratulations. That's good to hear. Because any reason to celebrate is a good reason to celebrate. But congratulations to you both.
Work anniversary?
I don't know. I'm assuming it was a wedding anniversary, but you know what? It could have been your work anniversary.
Could be a birthday anniversary.
But he's not. No, he's definitely not. He's. I've seen pictures. He's not 15. Okay. If I go for my full G and I fail, do I have to restart the whole process? No. You can test again. And if you,
as long as it's within the time limits.
Well, actually, if you get to the expiry of your G2, you can retake your G2 test, which I would hope you would pass because you passed it once, and you would then be able to pay and extend your G2. But it requires a test. Whereas a G class, once you expire or you're approaching expiry, you just pay and there's no testing required until you're well older than you probably are. Interesting question. How legal is it to exceed the speed limit when passing in oncoming lane, on the other side of a yellow dotted line? How legal is it to exceed the speed limit?
Funny, they use the words "how legal."
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. It's not, because the speed limit is the speed limit at all times, even while passing. So if you were to speed for the purposes of passing, you are breaking the law. Why are you passing a vehicle that is likely going the speed limit?
Yeah.
If everyone's doing 100 on a 100-kilometer-an-hour road, there's no reason to ever pass anyone. And yet we see it a lot because people want to go faster. And that's not lawful. So whether it led to a collision or you were caught on radar, you would absolutely be held responsible, assuming the officer pulled you over for that speed, whatever that speed was.
It's unfortunate, Sean, that everybody takes the speed limit and thinks it's almost okay.
They think it's a suggestion.
Yeah. Like I said, I just came back from a trip where I had a little short period of time on I-95 in Maine, in the U.S. And the speed limit there is 75 miles an hour, which is quite fast. And still, people were still speeding there.
Well, and that's funny. There's an argument that if we raise the speed limits, we would reduce the illegal speeding and just make faster travel possible. And my argument, and people have cited studies, people do not speed when you raise the limit. That's baloney. They do speed. They continue to speed because we have basically grown up in a culture that says the speed limit is a suggestion.
Yeah,
So
10 over is okay. Nobody will stop you for 10 over. Maybe 20 is getting...
there's a threshold. Cops don't stop you until, and that's usually what the questions are. When would you pull someone over? And my answer is when they speed, and that could be anyone. I will say that 1 or 2 kilometers over is negligible and understandable that different tire combinations could cause an inaccuracy. And there's so many people that are speeding faster that, yeah, I would be looking for the fastest of a pack. But that doesn't mean you're safe and that you're legally permitted to. You're just as eligible. And one day, I said it here first, I'm sure many people have said it, we're going to see electronic speed measurement back again. It's just going to happen. Yep. There's no way that we're going to continue to see the kind of destruction on our roads due to speed, and speed kills. Eventually, they're going to put their foot down. Eventually, they're going to do what they've done in London and England, and they have speed cameras everywhere. They have speed cameras that measure when you enter a road and exit a road, and just based on your average, determine if you were breaking the law and just issue you a ticket. And they issue it to the driver, not to the car, to the driver, because they can see you. They took a picture of you through the window. Yeah, expect that it's coming. If the people who think are getting away with it now are the reason it's going to come, because it's a problem.
Yep.
Here's a question from an Uber driver. Hi, I'm an Uber driver. Hi. I got a ticket for drop off the passenger in front of his office. Do you think it logical? If you got a ticket for stopping where you're not permitted to stop, if you got a ticket for breaking the rules, then yeah, that's exactly.
Once again, you're a professional driver. You have to follow all the rules, and you should know better. Just because your passenger wants to be dropped here as opposed to around the corner where it's safe and legal to do so, yeah, it doesn't cut it.
If you're doing something that's illegal, because they asked you to, you're taking the risk. So if you get a ticket, it's on you. Yaman 416 says, actually, I don't know if it should be Yaman 416. I think that's the way it was intended. Cyclist in live lane of Lakeshore, not using bike lane, seen by police. What ticket will he get? It's not unlawful to be in a live lane. Now you have to stay to the right side of the live lane. It might be illogical, borrowing from our last question. It's not logical to be in a live lane when a cycling lane exists, unless they're turning or doing something else. It would be ideal for them to stay. But law says if you can stay with the movement of traffic, you can take the whole lane. If they're obscuring or obstructing traffic, that's a different story. Then they could be responsible for charges. There could be a safety concern. Maybe there's an obstruction in the bicycle lane. Maybe there's sand or dirt or something. There could be a reason not to be there. But ideally, we built those bicycle lanes to keep cyclists safe, and they should use them because it's safer for them.
Yep, totally agree. But not unlawful.
Not unlawful. Akela Draconis confirms that is, in fact, a wedding anniversary. Work will be in September, 3 days after his birthday, 28 years with the city of Toronto. Sweet. Well, we'll congratulate you when we hit that mark. What day in September? I want to know. Okay. Going to put it in the calendar. Rosie has a question. Is there a time limit to drive with a G2 on the highway, please, and thank you? There are conditions that kick in with a G2 in the first year of having one. And that is between midnight and 5 a.m. And it really only relates to the number of passengers you can have under the age of 20 in your vehicle. So in the first 6 months, it's one individual who is not a member of your immediate family under the age of 20. In the second 6 month period, it's up to 3 under the age of 20 who are not members of the immediate family, because there's an exemption. Obviously, if you had a family, as long as you got seats and seat belts, you're legally allowed to have them at any time of the day or night.
And that's immediate family. That's not
Cousins.
second cousin once removed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard the term. This is AJ the Awesome with Bruised Ribs, who wants to know about citizens arrest. Is that a real thing or just a myth for Ontario? Also, ribs are now good and everything is well. Hope everything's going great for you guys. Well, aside from our mild technical issue this morning, everything's going good. No complaints. And this is like the 6th day in a row I've been in the gym, or 6th day work day in the row.
I saw it this morning.
You witnessed
I actually went in just to see
I'm surprised you didn't take a photo.
Who says I didn't?
Yeah. So citizens arrest is a real thing. It's not an Ontario thing. It's a Canada-wide thing. It's actually in the United States as well, although I can't say that I understand their legal system enough to be able to give you advice on it. So citizens arrest is for something called fines committing indictable offenses. So if you saw someone or in these expansions based on trespass to property, or if you're the representative of a piece of property, you have some expansions on that. But it is absolutely a thing that anyone can make an arrest for an indictable offense if they find it being committed. But I will say this. It's not something you should engage in unless you know what you're doing, because there's liability. You arrest someone that you thought should be arrested, that shouldn't have been arrested, and now you're being sued, and you pay a lot of money.
And you actually need to know the law behind it. So what is an indictable offense as compared to a dual or a summary conviction offense? You have to know. This law allows people like security guards to place people under arrest and call police officers to continue that arrest.
Forthwith.
But it's an indictable offense of theft. They also have the power under the Trespass to Property Act to detain somebody if they're committing offense under that act. And I think there's only 3 offenses under that act. And you have to know what you're doing before you start doing it. You're responsible for any use of force that may be in excess of what is reasonable. And if you don't have the proper grounds to it, any use of force could be an assault. So, yes, it can be done. Know what you're doing before you do it.
Again, because
It's better.
As
Give
you
us
say,
a call.
there's liability. And I don't know, calling police if you can is great. But let's say there's an assault in progress and you have the ability to become involved to protect the person who's being hurt, and you employ that. Well, know that you're probably going to get punched. You're going to get hurt. This is getting into a fight. But keeping that person there, what authority do you have? Well, that's where you have that authority. So it all depends. Know before you go. It's not something for everyone to jump into.
Yeah.
I Spy Birds has a question about electric scooters or bikes. At what speed does license become required, and what letter G and M? So I'm glad you asked this question because I do a lot of talking about this. So e-bikes, once they are capable of traveling beyond 32 kilometers an hour, have a motor bigger than 500 watts, or you've removed the pedals, they are motorcycles. They're motor vehicles, and they would qualify as a motorcycle. You would need an M-class license, and you would need insurance and a license plate. Not having that insured would see fines of $5,000 to $25,000. It's just a bad idea.
It in itself is a motorcycle. It has an exemption,
Magic.
yes, through a pilot program in Ontario to allow them to be operated without insurance, without driver's license.
Well, for e-bikes, it's no longer a pilot. It's now permanent. For the e-kick scooters, it's a pilot. It's a different speed. 24 kilometers an hour is the maximum. 500 watts again, and no seat. You cannot put a seat on an e-kick scooter. It becomes a motorcycle. Magic. Again, if it had a seat, it needs a motorcycle license. Oddly enough, if it doesn't have a seat, it doesn't quite meet the requirements for motorcycle. It's still a motor vehicle, and it's questionable. Could it be an M? Could it be a G? It's a legal question that they would argue in court.
Yep, absolutely.
But in any case, 24 kilometers an hour for an e-kick scooter, 32 kilometers an hour, those are the maximum speeds capable, not the maximum speeds witnessed. So if I look at your vehicle and I can look up online and it says that it's capable of 50 miles per hour, that's capable. If you put a jumper switch on there and you restrict it temporarily, but it's still capable. And these are arguments for court, not for me at the side of the road. Well, I'm not going to be at the side of the road because I don't go on the side of the road. Ryan Pinn, in his most serious of questions, can I strap a lazy boy to the roof of my car and drive it while using a rope attached to the wheel at the bottom and a broom for the pedals? I may have seen an episode with one Mr. Bean who may have done that. It did not look like a good idea, although I think in this weather it might have been refreshing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not legal.
So to answer that,
Hard no?
that'd be a hard no.
I heard somebody else say hard no, and I'm like, they can't steal our stuff. Who else said that? But it's obviously we didn't come up with that. But
Yeah, I stole it from somebody as well.
oh yeah,
It's a Letterkenny.
no, I don't even think it's from him. Let's see here, ESAT Mert 355. Is it illegal to have an 8-year-old child sitting on the passenger side of a 2-seater car in Ontario?
Nope.
Well, and technically, by saying 8 years old, you also are saying that they qualify to sit without a booster seat. 8 years old, 80 pounds, or 4'9", any one of those three makes them legal to sit without a child safety restraint. It may not be the best option depending on the size of the child. And ideally, we say kids backseat until 14. At 14 would be safe. But
You've
it's
got
not
a
illegal.
2-seater car.
There's no other option. I get it.
Yep.
But
So is it unlawful?
Not
No,
unlawful.
it isn't. You can't have a child of any age in the front seat.
Mm-hmm.
It is not recommended, though.
Even if it's a child seat, you can put them in the front seat. The one suggestion, the one caveat is airbags are dangerous. Move the seat to the farthest position to the rear that you can to give them that clearance to reduce the potential injury in the event of a collision. Just airbags are dangerous for small folks. Even adults, it can be dangerous. I see people who are right up against the steering wheel.
Ooh,
And
it's gonna hurt.
that's 200 miles per hour of explosive charge that's going to go off in your face. That's going to cause a lot of damage. So even folks who are shorter, vertically challenged, possibly, as far away as you can, and you want to have a good seating position. This is where driving school comes in. They teach that seating position. Little things, could save your life. What is Ontario's law on underglow? There is no law specific to underglow. There are, however, laws for everything else. And the absence of underglow law does not make it legal. It just means that if you're using it in a way that violates other laws, you're in trouble. So if your lights are visible from the front, if you're projecting colors other than white or yellow to the front, you're violating your improper headlights law. So there's going to be a charge for that. If you're projecting light other than amber or red to the rear, you're violating. To the side, I don't know. Is there, what would that fall under? It may be accent lights. It may not be. Either way, front and back, it's a major issue.
Yeah, I don't actually know to the side. What I can tell you is that we look at cars, and we look at cars on the side, and everybody should know this, that it's usually an amber marker light on the front and a red marker light on the rear. And that kind of is a clue of which way the vehicle is traveling or ought to be traveling should you be approaching it from the side. If you put green down the side or you put purple down the side on that, how is that assisting other drivers around you to know what it is that you're doing or ought to be doing?
My suggestion would be, don't use it unless you're on private property. It's great for car shows. It's good for, showing off the vehicle and not while driving. Just that serves no benefit and does create negatives. Sharam comes back and says, I am again the Uber driver. I drop passenger in the safe spot, but I want to know drivers can drop passengers if there's a sign that says no standing. So what is your answer for Uber driver? If it's legal for one, it's legal for both, unless there's a bylaw that I'm not aware of that says Uber drivers can't do it or taxis can't do it. But I don't know what you were charged for other than you said you got a ticket. So if you're in a no parking zone, you can stop to let them off. If it's a no stopping zone, I think you can drop people off, but a no standing zone, I don't think you can. There's different rules for different signs. And you may have gotten a ticket and the other person may not have because they chose to ticket you because you were the lucky contestant on The Price is Right. I don't know. I don't know the specific location of where you were and if it was safe. Do you guys chase someone who flees while you attempt to pull them over? Amazing things we do. If someone runs from the police, is that against the law?
It is. There's an offense for that.
Oddly enough, it's against the law. Before we even activate the lights, do we know who that person is more often than not?
We try to get that.
We gather as much information as possible before even identifying or initiating the stop. We're very often well aware of who the driver is because we can see them and we can see pictures of them. And it's amazing how we can do this technology stuff. So if you do choose to run away, we're probably just going to meet up with you at your house and lay the charges. We have 6 months to lay certain charges. Yep. We have 3 years to lay other charges. Don't run from the police. It's really dumb.
And it could be, fleeing from the police could be criminal as well. We'll put a little more effort into catching you. And we don't have to do it right away unless there's an immediate safety concern. By chasing you, it creates a safety concern for everybody else that's using the road and myself that may be wanting to chase you. If there's another way around it, we will use that other way around it.
Yes. We play smarter, not harder.
I know a police officer here who, very, very smart gentleman, he investigated a motorcycle. License plate kind of hidden, looked it up. There was a history of fleeing from police. So instead of the officer trying to stop the motorcycle, he pulled up beside at a red light, called him out by first name, and said, "Hey, I want to talk to you," whoever his name was. And you pull over to the side. Over. That person's going, "Oh, they already know who I am. I guess I'm going to pull over."
Yeah. Bad. It would be a bad day at the office if they didn't. Chase has a question. Is it illegal to remove your car's headrests, as it's an important safety item that works along with the front airbag to prevent whiplash and fatality? Because very often lack of headrest could result in is it a hyperextension of the neck that ultimately results in one's demise?
Ow.
Yeah, it's a bad day. Now, is it a safety requirement to have one? I could make the argument that it's an unsafe motor vehicle if it doesn't have them, I suppose. But then again, there's older vehicles that don't have them. And yeah, I don't know. You make a very good point, and it is unsafe. But I don't know if it's unsafe to the point where a ticket or charge would be required or justified.
And just as a side question, why would you want to remove something that is there to assist you and keep you safe?
So often, that is exactly what's happening. People do wild things. Why would you put a license plate on your dashboard so you could cut your head off? Like,
why would you tint your brake lights so nobody can see that?
There is that. Stephen Bell hates it when he sneezes while driving. Yes, as just a random. I will say that is actually very scary if you're traveling and you get that completely overwhelming eyes closed. Like you
Yeah.
traveling a great distance. that
I
is
don't think it's
dangerous.
possible to keep your eyes closed or keep your eyes open while you're sneezing.
I believe it's impossible. Yes, I agree. Talton Brown, we talked about that already. He wanted to know about running away. Here's an interesting question. Does the 40 over rule apply on 80 zones in construction zones on the highway or still 50 over? So you're talking about stunt driving, I believe. And the big thing is it depends on whether or not the speed limit is regulated. If the speed limit in that zone is designated by a white regulated sign, then it's 80 zone, it would still be 50. Since 80 and over, you have to do 50 over to get a stunt driving charge.
So, yes, if it is an 80 zone, you'd have to be doing 50 over. But please remember that there's two different fine schedules. And a construction zone, while workers are present, doubles your fine as well. So if you are stunt driving, and because of speed within the construction zone, you could probably expect to get the double fine speeding ticket and the stunt driving ticket.
Yes, but 40 over wouldn't apply because it's under 80, and it would have to be a regulated sign. So if it was a 60, that was a white sign, and it was a construction zone, and you were doing 40 over, it would absolutely be stunt, and it would qualify for doubling the fines on that charge. I like it. I want to motivate people to slow down.
Plus, please slow down in construction zones. There's people out there working, trying to make the road better for you so you can use it next time. Don't put their lives at risk.
Here's a question from Heavy Gear Guru Jake Farmers. Using old on-road dump trucks with just slow-moving vehicle instead of plates. No.
Nope.
Now, did they change it to road building machines still not require plates during the season which they're being used for road building?
No, I don't believe so. So there used to be an exemption for equipment, things like cranes and cement mixers and things like that. As long as they're not carrying anything else other than itself, there used to be an exemption that didn't have to be plated. They now do.
And yeah.
So a dump truck is a dump truck is a dump truck. It is not an implement of husbandry. It is not an agricultural implement where there is an exemption for it. A farm tractor going down the road while in the act of farming can use a slow-moving vehicle sign and operate on the roadway.
I think I mentioned earlier when I was growing up, there was a guy that drove a tractor to the mall. He did not have the ability to get a license, and he drove that every day. Yes.
Let's just say I was rear-ended by one of those individuals. He had a medical condition, could not secure a driver's license, so he drove his tractor. It was in town as well, and he ran into the back of me.
Bad day for everyone.
Yep.
Evan asks if I'm doing nothing illegal and a cop lights me up. Am I obligated to pull over? No probable cause. I don't know where you're located, but if you're in Ontario, I can tell you that we have a number of reasons to pull you over at any time.
Yes.
Checking your license status, checking your insurance status, checking your sobriety, checking the fitness of your vehicle. At any time, despite doing nothing wrong, a police officer can pull you over for those reasons, any one of those reasons, all of those reasons, and you're obligated to. Even if it was just to tell you that your lights are out, any reason at all, if you see lights, you're obligated under the HTA to pull over and stop at the nearest curb.
And you may not think you're doing something illegal, but you may be.
This is true. A lot of people who run stop signs say they stopped. A lot of people who are speeding don't think they are. It would be difficult for you to articulate in court after you were arrested for not stopping. So just stop. Yeah. Am I required? Here's a follow-up, although I think it's a different person asking. Here is Ontario Drone. Am I required to pull over for an unmarked vehicle? What if I believe they are suspicious, maybe not a real officer? So, same situation applies. You're required to. If you don't think they are, you don't have to get out of the vehicle. You don't have to. You can call police. You can call 911. You can ask the officer to see their badge. There's a number of ways you can confirm, but you must pull over, because simply failing to pull over, you're initiating a pursuit, and you're escalating what's going to happen. Yeah. What is this? Am I allowed to have my car trunk open to carry big items as long as it's secured? I had this. My wife asked me this question. She saw an SUV with the door ajar and things were sticking out underneath it, not enough to require a flag. So here's a good question. It was actually quite scary because as we got next to the vehicle, we noticed it was like a 4x4 beam that was like right up to the front windshield and just sticking out of the SUV.
So are we talking at the side door?
Back door, rear door, the rear hatch
Passenger
was-
door.
No, the rear
The trunk.
Yeah, the hatch. And he did have what looked like some level of strap to secure it, but I would not have qualified that as a secure load. Because two things would happen. One, in a front end collision, it would have launched through the windshield. In a rear end collision, it would have become dislodged. It was not safe in that situation. But you said if it's secured,
Yep.
and if it's rated straps and properly secured, and you had bound that door, I would say it's legal.
I would have to agree with you. It's one of those things. Your trunk is there for a number of reasons. One of them is to keep noxious fumes out of the back of your car from entering. But if something is in and it is not impeding your view, and you have side view mirrors that can see around the object, if it is secure,
Now, additionally, we talked about going to people going to school, going on big trips, camping and stuff on the weekend, and piling up the contents of your vehicle to the roof. You cannot see out the rear window. As long as you have rear mirrors, side mirrors to see clear to the back, that's lawful, but you must secure the items within your vehicle. Because if you were to hit the brakes and they would all fall forward and you were covered in your baggage, not only could you be injured, but it's not lawful. It's an insecure load, not just because it'll fall out of the vehicle. It's not secure within the vehicle. So there you go. Justinder wants to know, can I take my kids in an Uber or a taxi without a car seat? I'm always confused. Please answer, legal or not. In an Uber, no, you cannot.
absolutely not.
In a taxi or bus, yes. There's exemptions under the tax. Now, that does not make it safer. It just makes it legal. And that's because if you're in the middle of nowhere and you're calling a taxi, is it reasonable for you to produce a car seat in a situation? You can't. We need to get people access to transportation.
But it has to be a proper taxi.
It has to be a licensed taxi.
And you must be paying for the actual fare. A lot of taxis actually run both. They run Uber, they run taxi, they
Right.
run Lyft, they're doing everything.
Yes,
You
it
have
has
to be
on the
able to
meter.
prove that it is on the meter and you're actually paying for the taxi portion of it.
I never thought of that. The fact that until you said it, I'm like, what? That's 100%.
Yep.
Because they would be operating under their Uber license.
And Ubers are private assistants and private cars. Even the taxi could be a private car. And no, there's no exemption for that.
Lernuti. I was told everyone's blood alcohol level has to be 0 in Ontario now. Is this true? Like all the time? Like alcohol is illegal? Or do you mean while operating a motor vehicle? So no, it's not true. If you're a new driver, if you're a commercial driver, then yes, a 0 blood alcohol content is required while operating the vehicle in that area, in that license.
Depending on the class of your license, it can restrict you from having any alcohol in your system. Depending on your age, can restrict you from having any alcohol in your system.
Oh, yes, if you're under the age of 22.
Yeah.
And this is a confusing one because the law says over 21. So people say it's 21 and over. It's not 21 and over. It's over 21, which is 22 and over. I cannot stand that wording.
Yep.
It is very confusing.
Yeah. So, and the legal limit is 0.05 before a roadside driver's license suspension, and 0.08 is a criminal code charge and driver's license suspension.
Here's an interesting question. I was caught going 157 on the 407 as a G2 driver, and I got charged for stunt driving. My insurance is 110 normally. How much do you think my insurance will go up? Way up. I couldn't speculate. It's a private company and what they choose to raise your rates to, if they choose to even continue having you as a customer, because they could choose to fire you as a customer. That's unacceptable speed. And how much would it go up? Well, first of all, you're also going to get a suspension on conviction. Well, you got your suspension for stunt
roadside.
For roadside for the 30 days. But on conviction, you're looking at a further 1 to 3 year suspension. You're also looking at a 30-day suspension because you're a novice driver. So you got a whole bunch of stuff that's going to muddy up your record, and I expect your insurance is going to go way, way up.
I can tell you from experience, my son, who was a G2 driver at the time, for some reason, disobeyed a sign. Did it wrong. His insurance went up by 17%.
Wow.
He was already paying an awful lot as a D2 driver, driving his own vehicle. 17% is an awful lot. That is for disobeying a sign.
And this is not disobey a sign. This is major intentional
Yeah.
danger driving. AJ Martinez wants to know, what's your stance on lane splitting at a complete stop? So my personal stance or the legal stance? Legally, it's not permitted. I don't have a major problem with a motorcycle moving forward a couple of car lengths to get out of the way to prevent someone from smacking into them because, they're the last vehicle in the row. I get it. It's articulable. I think you could justify it. But doing more than that, I think you're looking at a ticket. Now, in terms of my personal feeling on, a snail's pace past stop traffic, I personally don't think it's a big deal. However, it's illegal. So it's irrelevant what I think.
I might have a different opinion on that. I, as a motorcycle rider, don't think I'm any more special of a driver than anybody else out there. And why should I be able to filter right up to the front of the red light and then beat all the traffic leaving there?
Well, it's not that I'm endorsing it or suggesting it's a good idea. I'm just saying that I don't think it's a huge problem. It's still illegal. Don't do it. But I can see why certain areas allow it. It because it does allow more vehicle traffic. It's just not safe and it's not legal. So the problem isn't the slow stop traffic. The problem is what that slow stop traffic is doing whilst texting. It's
Or the speed differential between the slowing and stopping.
And they were talking about complete stop. In motion, if traffic is moving, there is no way that that's a good idea, despite the many people who tell me lots of reasons why it's a good idea.
Well, I'm talking with speed differential about the motorcycle that is lane splitting.
Oh, even if it's stopped, if they're doing 40, 50, 60 through...
When everybody else is stopped. Absolutely.
Totally unsafe. Yeah. I think that the CHP put out on their website like 30 miles an hour is what they're accepting. That's still 50K. That's still too fast. In my opinion. Okay. Can we carry one bottle of alcohol with receipt in a commercial truck going home for a 36-hour rest? I don't know what the rules are for transporting alcohol. I would assume if it's sealed, you could, but I don't know what the rules are.
If it is not accessible to the driver, it's in its original vessel with a seal unbroken, you can transport it.
Dr. Nick thinks I skipped a question, but I read a Dr. Nick question. What Dr. Nick question do you think I missed? Hang on a second.
If the bottle of alcohol is in your driver's reach, or if it has been once opened, it's unlawful.
Dr. Nick, I talked about the Arsenault question or comment, so I've already covered it if that's the one you're talking about, so you have to go watch it in a replay because I'm not going to go through it again. Let's see here. Can you get a ticket for using a merging lane to cheat the slow traffic line? Well, not only is it I was going to use a word that I would get in trouble for. It's a move. It's a move. It really is. Wait. That's the move. Yeah, it's one of those moves. Don't do that. Can you get into trouble if you're crossing any area that is not lane? You can be charged for driving off road, like for on shoulder. If you're actually merging across the dotted line and merging back, is it unlawful? It could be unsafe, depending on which would make it unlawful. But man, are you making people angry? And you're getting 10 cars forward. It's such a move.
Yeah, and what you don't know is that it actually slows down traffic, because all of a sudden you want to merge into a space that somebody has to slow down for to let you in. Because if it's bumper to bumper already, it's bumper to bumper. And once again, just like the splitting the lane things, you're no better than anybody else. Just stay in your lane, you'll get there.
Yeah. If we were just courteous to others, we'd do a lot better. Chase wants to know if it's any law about crossing the bullnose at an exit ramp last minute. Yep. Same thing. You're driving on a shoulder or off roadway. It's unsafe. There's a myriad of charges that would apply. Omar wants to know thoughts on failure to signal ticket. Got one recently, and I did signal. Do officers have rear dash cams? I'm not aware of cars that have rear dash cameras for the majority of fleet. I understand new vehicles coming out will have like a lot of cameras.
360?
360 coverage. But if you fail to signal and it's a requirement under law, you're eligible for a ticket. So absolutely. Can a G2 driver drive in the States? You are eligible to drive anywhere a G class driver can drive, although you have conditions, and even when you're in the States, you must follow them. Let's see here. We have, we got someone's attention. Wait, you said I will get a 1 to 3 year license suspension upon conviction for stunt driving. Does that mean February 2024, when my court date, I will lose my license for 1 to 3 years? That is a potential. It's no less than 1 year, no more than 3 years. On a second conviction, it's 3 to 10 years. On a third conviction, it is an indefinite suspension forever. So yes, you're eligible for a 1 to 3 year suspension. Now, does it mean it's no less than 1? So if you're convicted, you're going to get at least a 1 year suspension on top of the 30 days that you're going to get for being a novice driver.
You may want to seek some legal advice on this one, because this is going to be a big one for you. So.
Oh, yes. Let's see here. Law on, interesting. Sam wants to know about law on protruding tires, those that go beyond the fender flare. There's a requirement to have mud flaps. There is what I understand to be a 1/4 inch leeway, but I don't know if that's going to be, like, ultimately, if your tire is protruding, you're breaking the law. So don't do it.
And there's a maximum width that your vehicle can operate on a roadway, 101 inches, I believe it is. I've seen some trucks lifted pretty far out tires. The offset on the tire on the rim is pretty high. It would have been wider than allowable.
And folks do this because it looks cool, not because it serves a tremendous purpose. I don't think it's because they're trying to prevent rolling over, so they need a wider stance. It's not good for the road. It's unsafe. Folks say, well, why is it unsafe? Well, not only are you kicking up dirt, debris, water when you're driving by, rooster tailing for everybody behind you. It's a visual issue, but also it's going to be the fact that you are have the potential of touching or coming into contact with other vehicles and or pedestrians and sucking them into the wheel well. It is a significant issue, and your vehicle can be considered unsafe. There's so many things. Is it being enforced? I don't think it's being enforced enough. I think we need a lot more. So if you're doing it, you're taking risks.
And if your lifted truck has the offset rims, it's putting more stress on your suspension system. So if you are using it as an off-road, it's going to break an awful lot easier.
Just a follow up for Omar, says I 100% signaled and she was in front of me. So how would she see? That's something I guess you'll have to deal with in court. You're going to testify that you did do it. They're going to say you didn't, and the courts will decide. Okay. So this is a question that apparently I missed from Dr. Nick. I scrolled through. I didn't see this one, so thanks for reposting it. I got a U-Haul truck that had a muffler defect, making it unsafe.
Ding, ding, ding. Hey, you got a truck had a defect? Don't drive it.
Am I really supposed to do a mechanical inspection on every vehicle before I drive in order to make sure I don't get a ticket? And he further says, I'm not a mechanic certified to give safety, so why am I responsible? So if it's a muffler defect, chances are you heard it when you started it. You're supposed to do an inspection, especially any truck driver, any person who gets into any vehicle should do a walk around. When you rent something, you're going to go through that vehicle to ensure that you're not responsible for any new damage. I'd want to hear the muffler. I want to start it. If I heard a muffler issue, I would ask for a different truck. And yes, you are entirely responsible for the vehicle. Now, they may also be responsible. Now, you said unsafe. I don't know what an unsafe muffler defect is, but if it's something that would be unreasonable for you to be able to identify, like it doesn't make a lot of noise, and yet it's, I don't know, you're getting carbon monoxide into the cabin. I don't know what defect makes it unsafe. But if it's something that you ought to have known, then you're responsible for it.
You know what? I check my vehicle every time before I get in it, just to make sure everything's operating properly, including my lights. If I got into a car that wasn't mine and it's a rental and has been used by tons of people, I think I'd pay more attention to it. I think I'd want to make sure it is more safe than what I do every day in my own vehicle. Just saying.
Here's a question about left turns and signals. I signaled left to turn left. The car behind me does too. Faster. Hits me from the backside. Who's at fault? I'm trying to figure out the scenario you're painting. So you both signal to make a turn. They do it before you, even though you basically put your hand up and said, I want to go first. If they are there, you haven't, before you get there, regardless who signaled, they've initiated their turn first, and then you do it second, there could be some combination of fault here. Because if they're now moving into the space that you're trying to move into and you haven't done that last minute check, they may already be there. So it's not a clean cut answer, unfortunately, because it's not a clean cut question. I had a situation yesterday, the day before. I signal and I do my check, and the guy behind me signaled and got into the multi-use lane before me and passed me.
Yep.
I have to wait for that individual who I wasn't very impressed with. They were in such a rush to be in front of me on that turning lane. I said a lot of things very loudly. Luckily, I was inside my vehicle. I don't think anybody heard me.
Unnecessary noise inside your
I
vehicle.
was so angry because it was just such a move.
Yep. But the responsibility becomes on you, because then you still have to change lanes. And if they're there, two vehicles can't occupy the same space.
Once they're there, they own it. If they're
Yep.
there first, they own it. Okay. I'm from Ontario, lost my front license plate in Saskatchewan. What should I do? Report it lost or stolen to police. You need a police report. Now, you should have done it in Saskatchewan. If you're back already, then report it here, but it's a little late for that. And get it replaced. You're responsible to have two plates.
And you don't want somebody driving around with your license plate on it, your name, racking up bills on your account. And when you report it here in Ontario, we have a computer system that will let anybody know all across Canada or even the U.S. That you have reported it as stolen or lost.
If it shows up,
Missing.
they'll get pulled over and investigated. Ali asks, who is at fault if someone blows a red light and the person in front of you slams on the brakes? Oh, I'm trying to paint this picture. Who's at fault if someone blow? I'm not picking up. So the person behind intends to blow the light, and the person that they drive into stops for the red light?
No, I got a feeling that they're going through on a green light, following each other. Somebody goes the opposite direction, blows a red light. The car in front slams on the brake to avoid a collision and gets rear-ended.
Oh.
That's what I'm seeing.
Okay.
Well, I'm thinking. But
I think they need a diagram here. Ultimately, the person who ran the light is looking for charges there. They're obviously responsible for what they
indirectly
did.
involved in the collision. They're the cause of the collision.
Yeah.
But
Following too close?
But you cannot, no matter what the car in front of you is doing, run into the car. You can't run into anything at any time. If they slam on the brakes because of a hazard, you obviously didn't leave enough time or react quick enough to stop at the same time. So, yes, you could get a ticket as well.
Is it legal to have a front license plate inside the vehicle on the dash? No. It has to be mounted on the front of the vehicle in a conspicuous place. That could be zip tied to the grill if you wish, but it cannot be in the inside behind the wheel or behind the windshield. That's obstructed for one, and two, it's an unsafe location. That is not where it is required to be according to the regulation. Front of the vehicle is not 30% into your vehicle behind a windshield. So it doesn't even come close to meeting the requirement.
And then you got a really sharp piece of metal floating around in your vehicle should you get rear-ended by somebody.
It's the Ontario Shuriken, that's what I call it.
Yeah.
We have, can I drive my brother's car insured on his name? The vehicle's insured and you're a licensed driver. Can you borrow the car? Yes, from the police perspective. From the insurance perspective, if you live together, they may not allow it. You may not meet the requirements. We talked about this earlier in the show. But ultimately, not everybody can drive every car because the contract between the owner and the insurance company may exclude you because they don't like you, or they want you to pay for being a occasional driver. But generally, like from a legal perspective, yeah, you're licensed, you can drive it. Here's a question. My disabled son refuses to wear a shoulder strap of seatbelt, but wears lap belt. Is this legal? It's an improper, you're wearing it improperly, still a charge. And depending on their age, you as a driver could be the one getting the charge. And depending on their age, maybe they need to be in a booster seat or something like that, something that would prevent them from taking it off, because it really does go a long way to making it safer. There's also clips that can rearrange where, like they may be having a problem with where it's touching them on their neck. If they're sensitive to that, there may be ways to resolve that with some clips that are lawful, that are legal to use. And could make it more acceptable, or maybe putting a padded cover on it, something that makes it fun. Yeah, I guess finding out what the root of the issue is could go a long way. But ultimately, for safety and for law, they got to be wearing it. What's this? We're at the 11 o'clock. We're actually past the 11 o'clock. But I want to see if there's anything that we missed that we should really cover, like the one from AJ Awesome that says, since you guys started your police career, what are some changes you've seen that you like or dislike, and is there anything that works, anything in the works that you're excited for? That's a big question.
There's lots.
Yes.
The world has changed since I started policing.
Yeah.
The laws have changed. People's attitudes have changed. People's respect for the police have changed.
I'd like to change all that. Some things I think, we don't have. I think this is a weird one, but used to be you watch shows like Chips, and every day you saw police doing good stuff, and there's so much bad. We're painted so badly in the media at times that, and the focus is on bad, and there's bad that happens. I'm not suggesting it doesn't happen, but there's a lot of good, and we don't hear about the good. In fact, the good isn't newsworthy, and I think we've just created such a negative aura around policing, and it's a fantastic career. It's people helping people. We need the police, and the negativity surrounding it is my biggest problem with it. It makes it so that people don't want to do this job. Well, when people stop applying for this job, who's coming to help you? We need to maintain some positivity around it. And this whole defund thing, it's a problem. This whole movement that makes the police the enemy. So that's my biggest issue. It's not really changes from within the service; it's outside. What positive stuff? I think it's great that we can do stuff like we're doing right now, being able to engage with you in a new way. This is something that we'd have never even dreamed of. In fact, until I started doing it, I didn't even think it was a possibility. So this is really cool stuff. What are we excited for? I'm excited to see what we can do next. How do we make things better? How do we get bigger and help more people? Because that's where I'm at. I like the new technology. I like all the cool stuff. I'd like to see automated enforcement rolled out widely so that we could make the roads safer for everybody. But I'm very traffic minded in that. Drones. We already have drones, but I want one. I want them to issue one to me.
Want your own personal one?
Yeah. Well, I have my own personal one, but I want a work one. Work drone. Anyway, why are dealerships able to sell? What did I just do? Other than responding to calls and patrolling, what are you able to do? Can you get food? Yes, we're allowed to eat. We're allowed to get bathroom breaks.
Yep.
Absolutely. There's lots of things we can do.
And you know what? We do a lot of patrolling, but it's so busy, especially in the city of Toronto now. We don't have time. It's call to call. And so we are going. If we get a free moment to patrol, we like doing that because it's preventative. But yes, you do need a few minutes of downtime. We're allowed to have a lunch break.
If we have time.
If we have time. And sometimes it's just what's needed to get back and refresh and get out there again.
Cassandra wants to know why dealerships are able to sell a car with illegal things on it, like plate covers or tint that look too dark, and the driver is the only one who gets in trouble. Well, you as the driver are responsible for everything that happens in that car when it's on the road. When they sell you a car in the parking lot, it's not on the road, and the law doesn't apply to them on the parking lot. The license plate cover, I don't know why, even if it wasn't illegal, why would you put someone's advertising on your car and drive around with it? You have no benefit there. It doesn't protect your plate. It's just to advertise them. Even if they put the badges on the back, I question why Honda dealerships have Honda logos. Next to that, they have a dealership logo. Looks really nice, but it's advertising. So that aside, tinted windows, they should be responsible for it because they're certifying that vehicle, and their mechanics, especially new cars, are generally not doing this. Used cars, they're getting their mechanics to certify it or having it certified. Well, they can't actually get dark tint certified legally, so that's a problem, and that should be reported, and that the mechanic who certified it should be investigated and maybe lose their right to certify things because they need to have a tint meter. But ultimately, it is your responsibility, regardless of how you got that vehicle. Even if you borrowed the vehicle, you borrow somebody's car to go to the corner store and it has a plate cover and tinted windows, you're responsible for it.
Kind of like the U-Haul truck that has an improper exhaust.
Yes.
You as the driver are responsible for it. If it's not safe,
your fault.
It's not right, don't drive it.
And same thing, you don't know where the owner puts the documents. Maybe you thought they were in the glove box, but you never asked where the insurance and the ownership was. You can't surrender it. You're responsible. Ontario Drone says, I noticed using mouthwash makes you blow over blood alcohol content. How would you be able to differentiate that? Would I be taken to the station to blow again? So, yes. So here's the deal. Alcohol in your mouth alcohol, is something that we're aware of. Even certain chewing gum has alcohol or sugar alcohol. So if you have consumed any alcohol, or if you've, we're going to wait. We're going to give you a period of time to have that mouth alcohol go away, and then we're going to test. Now, if you do fail, even though we waited, you're going to be read a demand to be taken to a police station or to have a test from a breath technician, different than a roadside screening device, and you're going to have to blow 2 more times over a period of time. That is going to take a long time, and any alcohol that may have been caught by the roadside device would have dissipated well before that. And if nothing is in your blood at that point, then you're not going to be charged.
Yeah, even if you didn't wait or didn't have an indication that a police officer should wait, there is enough time between the failure of the roadside screening device and the actual 2 tests that are done at the station that any mouth alcohol would have dissipated.
Yeah, it would be unlikely at that point that the excuse of mouthwash would take it. And people do the darndest things. And some people drink mouthwash. So there's potential that the alcohol from there.
Alcohol in it.
Yeah. Okay. We're wrapping it up, but AJ says what is this? There we go. People don't understand that one bad apple doesn't mean the whole tree is bad. I can't read today. And more funding is needed, helps for training and equipment and such. People focus on the bad and forget the good things. About everything. How many times do you remember a good experience at a restaurant? You remember the one time the food was salty, not the 99 times the food was great. We focus on what sticks out at us, and I understand. We have a question about driving in Montreal. I'm in Montreal, but I don't have an international driving permit, but have an actual license from the UK. Can I still drive?
Depends.
It depends. So in Montreal, if you're visiting, you're entitled to use your UK license for a period of time. This is different than Ontario, although you can drive here. But if you're a resident, this really changes. If you're a student in Quebec, they'll accept your UK license while you're a student. In Ontario, once you're a student, you're a resident. If you're a resident, you need to apply for a local license. Rules are different. If you go to trafficcop.ca, I have a link at the bottom that says visitors to Canada driving. It'll tell you all the answers for each province. Oh, here's a loaded question. Well, actually, not a loaded question, but a question nonetheless. What department has the best looking, coolest uniforms in your opinion? Toronto. I don't know. Is there a better uniform than Toronto's?
I don't know if we're the coolest.
I don't know. It's the one I have, so I have to be biased and say that it's the best.
The RCMP looked pretty good.
I like the red surge.
Yeah. It's highly recognizable, but in Ontario, we're pretty much
all the same.
We were pretty much all the same. Dark shirts.
The only thing that changes is the shoulder flare or flash. For the most part. Yeah. Well, it's flare. A movie that pops in is that what was it? It was everyone.
No, this is your story.
Fast food. It was a movie about fast food, working at like Mother's or something, and they all had to have 6 things of flare. Do you remember the movie?
No.
I don't remember. Somebody in the audience knows what I'm talking about. I am sad to say that we've got to go. It's 15 minutes after 11. The show officially was over at 11, but we kept going, and I'm glad we did. It was fun. We'll be back tomorrow. At least I will. Maybe you will.
I don't know about tomorrow.
Okay,
I'll try.
we'll see. But I will be back here at 10 o'clock till 11 o'clock to do this Ask a Traffic Cop thing again, and I look forward to it. So with that, I wish you a safe day. Stay cool, because I mean that like seriously. It's hot out there. Stay hydrated. Don't leave friends, family, or animals in a car at all. Like, don't even even air conditioning. Some air conditioning units are going to have difficulty keeping up with this kind of heat. Just don't. Just go inside. Just don't sit in a car. Don't sleep in a car. It's dangerous. Have a safe day. Take care. See you tomorrow.
Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow. Watch for pedestrians, look out for bikes, and don't drive like a jerk that no one likes. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Put down your cell phone, nobody needs you to text and drive on the DVP. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. signs, look both ways, then go. Seatbelt save your life indeed. And watch your driving, don't speed. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Don't drink and drive or smoke some weed, because you might go to jail and not get free. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow.
And that's all, folks.